We've reached the grand conclusion. It's time for me to talk about the top 5 games of 2022. I will be making references to the previous videos in this series, so if you have not seen all the category awards and you don't want to be spoiled, then you should go back and watch all of those before returning here. At number 5, we have Tinykin. Tinykin was the winner for Best Gameplay Loop, which is what landed it in the top 5. It's a short 3D collectathon where you collect Tinykin in order to help you traverse the level, but you also have other means of traversing these levels. The game gives you a bar of soap which you can use to dash across stages and cover a lot of distance very quickly. It also allows you to grind on rails so that you can move to higher or lower areas. And you have a bubble that you can upgrade throughout the game that lets you glide further and further distances the more you go. All in all, traversal is quick, snappy, and it makes backtracking to find missing collectibles all the more fun. My one gripe with the game is that it was maybe a little too short, hence being at number 5. The level design could be very fun, transforming everyday rooms like bathrooms or children's playrooms into giant, expansive worlds with plenty of fun NPCs to interact with. I'd highly recommend giving it a shot on Game Pass. Coming in at number 4 is Pentiment. This game took me for a very pleasant surprise towards the tail end of 2022. It was a runner-up for Best Narrative, Best Visual Style, and Best Sound Design. All of that to say that while it's lower on the list because there's not a ton of gameplay outside of the point-and-click aspects, the narrative and the world that has been built is so compelling that it has to be mentioned here. I love how the characters' background traits, which you get to choose, directly influence what choices become available to you. I also like how your choices are limited by the scope of time. It is impossible for one man to uncover every mystery in the course of a day, and you are left with the difficult decision of which way do you go? Who do you accuse? What do you want to see happen in this world? At number 3 is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Another runner-up for Best Narrative as well as a runner-up for Best Soundtrack. I've been a fan of the Xenoblade series since I first played X back on the Wii U, and Xenoblade 3 is the closest game in the canon to playing like X. You have a large cast of heroes that you can play between, and on the one hand, that does give the game a lot of positives. You can pick between a lot of playstyles, and every one of the 6 main characters is fully customizable to that end. Everyone can play any role. The game has streamlined how you handle equipment and gems, and has refined the combat from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 by infusing a bit more of what made it work in Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Once again, they deliver on a compelling story, though it feels shorter because most of the time in the story is relegated to side content. If you do not engage with the side content, you are missing huge chunks of the lore and the character building that takes place in the world of Ionia. And it is for that reason, as well as a very linear opening, it takes a long time to get going, that I had to place the game lower on this list. It did not quite meet my expectation. However, it is still a Xenoblade game at the end of the day. Many people will tell you that it's the best in the series yet, and so I still recommend it. At number 2, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Kirby and the Forgotten Land won Best Level, and was a runner-up in the Best Family Game category. The level design in this game is a superb showing for Kirby's first foray into 3 dimensions. The copy abilities that you'll use to fight enemies in this game are less complex than more recent 2D games in the series, and that is a result of having less control options with needing to use more of the movement directions to navigate a 3D space. And the company did try to accommodate this by making them upgradable so that you would still have something to build towards. The systems are fun in its own right, but it does feel like something is missing in terms of combat compared to the 2D game. That said, there are other things that stand out about it, in addition to the cute level design and the cast of characters, We've got fun new abilities to try out with Mouthful mode. You can take control of all sorts of different objects and it will shake up the gameplay in various fun ways. You also have a new addition to the dodging mechanic. While dodging is not new for Kirby Combat, this time they implement a Bayonetta-style witch time where things will slow down if you dodge at just the right moment. This really lets you lay waste to enemies, especially with fully upgraded abilities, and so many people have commented that the combat is the best it's ever been in Kirby. And now the moment you've been waiting for, the #1 game, according to me, for 2022. Without further ado, the winner is Triangle Strategy. Triangle Strategy was my pick for Best Narrative, and was a runner-up for Best Soundtrack and Best Visuals. I became engrossed in the world and its 3 regions, learning more about the lore of each one, why this war is taking place, and trying to think through what solutions we might have in order to put it to a peaceful end. Or maybe a not-so-peaceful end. Sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. The game really does put your morality on the line. There's a wide cast of characters that you can play as, and that will drastically change up how you handle the tactics-based combat. Many of them are optional though, so if you'd rather just focus on the main cast and get through the story, that's also an option. There's many intricacies to the combat as well. While we may have seen these mechanics in past games like, say, Final Fantasy Tactics, they are brought into a new light here. For example, at the end of each character's turn, you have to pick which direction they'll be facing, which will either open them up to a back attack or prevent them from being back attacked, which of course incurs higher damage. You also have elevation to think about during each piece of combat, because attacking from the high ground with a ranged weapon will deal more damage than from the low ground. But every mechanic that is available to you is also available to your enemies, so you have to be truly watchful over all parts of the battle at all times. As you go, you'll be able to upgrade your characters and you'll see them level up, and that's what I like in a tactics-based RPG. I like sticking with the same party, really getting to know the characters and watching them progress so that it feels like we've actually completed this long journey together. And what a journey it was. I still refuse to tell you much about the story because it unfolds in some truly unexpected ways. And even if I tried to tell you about the story, you have so many branching paths in this game that I might not spoil anything. You might pick a completely different path and have a completely different experience. There is a free demo for this game on the eShop. And with that, that's about all I can say. I recommend giving it a shot. Triangle Strategy was my game of the year. Thanks for watching this series, and hopefully we'll see you next year.